Wow! Welcome to my show. Have I told you the one about every night, 8 p.m. Pacific? You ready to go? Here's some magic. Pew. Surprise! I did this new thing, a magic trick, which is called buying technology online. And now I have this slightly slicker show, which hopefully means I'm not going to have as many fuck-ups. It's the same old show, Have I Told You the One About? Same old me, Cookie, Michael V. Smith, the adorable host. Same surprise guests every week, but a little less fuckity-doo-dah. And it also means that I get a little intro, and I could create an extra, and so I made one 2 minutes before I started. So, here we go. Okay, so the sad thing is we lose our tiny little body, but who cares? This is way more sophisticated. Are you ready to count in? We still have some of our old tricks. We're going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Poof!
Ta-da! Hello, everybody.
It's Emily. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Emily. Are you over there?
Hi.
Oh, you are. I don't even know which side to point at. Look, it's Emily.
Which side? We don't know.
Am I looking at you? Am I looking at my armpit?
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Michael. It's really exciting to be here.
I'm so thrilled that you're here because you're amazing. The other day, your partner was on, Shimshan, and I was singing their praises, but I really should be singing your praises too because you're one of the hardest working artists in this city. And you're also volunteering at a million things. The two of you are always out together doing various things, and you have all these side projects. Anyways, when I look at the future of the world, I think we're in okay shape because we have Shimshan and Emily coming up the pipe.
Oh, well, that's really kind of you to say.
It's true.
So
I'm buttering you up before you do your story.
Yeah, to hear about my adventures as a youngin'. So.
But none of that is made up. That's all true shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I adore you, and I'm thrilled that you're here.
Oh, thanks. It's really great to be here.
So here's my story portal. Are you gonna send me a story through the story portal?
I am gonna do that.
Okay.
All right, and.
It was waves of that one. And your story is the first time I trespassed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting used to my cameras, bitches. Just relax. The first time I trespassed. Okay.
It was the first time that I trespassed. And so this takes me back to, I was probably around 16, I think. And it was maybe February in Edmonton, Alberta. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's usually about 3 feet of snow on the ground, and it's very cold. It's like the dead of winter in February. And it gets dark really early, and you're usually staying in and not doing anything.
Yeah, and really early, right? Because it's so far north.
Yeah, it gets dark at like 6 o'clock. You can leave in dark and then come home in dark and never see the sun.
Yeah.
So it's always one of those things where usually you're like at home, like cooped up. You're like not really doing a ton. You get home from school and then you're just kind of hanging out at home. Well, my younger sibling, Simon, they just turned 15 at the time. And Simon was definitely the more rebellious teenager out of the two of us. I was very much kind of like a goody two-shoes.
No.
Doing my homework and hanging out
at
home. Yes, me. I really came out of my shell in university, like quite a bit. So I was a very shy, quiet, introverted little teenager.
I was like that too. I was a wallflower. I was terrified of everything.
Yeah, I
would
know,
just
right?
stand and watch people.
Yeah, that was me. I didn't start going to parties until like I was 18, 19 even. Like it was that whole kind of, anyways. So at 16, I wasn't doing a whole lot. I was usually hanging out at home in the evenings and just doing my own thing. But Simon always wanted to like find things to do, and Simon was always the one getting up to shit, right? So
That's nice.
yeah, and so one day, it's the evening of like a Wednesday or a Thursday or something, and Simon comes into my room and it's like, "Hey, Emily, we should go skating." And I look at the clock. It's like 7 o'clock. It's like pitch black out. And we do have our own skates. Like most kids in Edmonton have their own set of skates because you can skate for so long. And we did go skating, but normally we would go to the big skating rinks. There's one down at the legislature. There's also one at Horlack Park, if anybody knows. And there's just like these big public rinks that you go to. But we're just at our dad's place, and it's 7 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. And Simon's like, "Hey, let's go skating." And I'm like, "Where are we going to go skating? Like, you know, there's nowhere really to go." And they were like, "Oh no, there's a rink over at the community center in our neighborhood." And I was kind of knew where that was. We were kind of like on the edge of two neighborhoods, so the community center was like a little bit further away. It was like a 20-30 minute walk. Okay. But I was like, "Oh yeah, I like kind of know where that is." So we were like, "Okay, we're gonna go skating." And so we like told our dad we were going out skating or going out or whatever. We grab our skates and we start walking. And it's quite cold, so we're bundled up and we trudge our way over to the community center. We're across a couple main roads and we're quite far out, and it's getting already chilly by the time we get there. But we get there. We get to the skating rink, and it's this just kind of like medium-sized rink, kind of like for a community center. I think it was a hockey rink during the summer.
It's indoor.
It's an outdoor one.
Oh, it's outdoor. Okay.
Yeah, and then they flood it with water in the winter so they can like freeze it over, and it's a skating rink.
I love that this story is about trespassing, and your introduction is my brother was a badass who got me into trouble, and your project is to go skating.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's something so lovely in all of that.
Well, this is the kind of stuff that Simon wanted to get up to. I should clarify, Simon is non-binary like I am. They did used to be they were a sister before they became non-binary.
Oh, okay.
But doesn't really matter now. Yeah, they were always the ones getting up to trouble, or just like coming up with things to do. They're definitely a lot like my dad in that aspect, where it's just like, I'm bored, I'm gonna go actively find stuff to like fill my time, right? Like rope other people into whatever I'm doing.
Well, what else do you do when you're clever and young, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Boredom is really good for the brain. It forces you to figure out stuff, right?
Well, this is the COVID experience, right? All those sourdough people.
Yeah, and the fact that we like grew up like without a bunch of like I grew up without like a ton of technology. I grew up without smartphones and things like that. I'm in that weird generation where I grew up like playing outdoors and not having video games and a ton of that.
Right.
But as an adult, I'm like inundated with it. It's like this really weird like generational. So filling our time with things was always something that I've never had as much of an issue with as some other people have found.
Okay, so they bring you to the hockey rink.
So we get to the rink, and it's dark and there's nobody out. And we realize immediately, like as we get there, I'm like, Simon, the rink is closed. Like the gate to get into the rink is locked. And I'm like, and so this is my reaction when I say, I'm like, oh man, we walked all the way out here, and we're gonna have to turn around, and we're gonna have to walk all the way home again. And well, maybe we can come back tomorrow night. Like the hours are right there. We'll just leave earlier next time. And Simon's like, no, we're already here. Let's just hop the fence and go into the rink. And I'm like, what? We're going to hop the fence and get into the skating rink? Because the fence is like, the fence that goes around is probably almost as tall as I am. Like, it's not like some little, like, knee-height one or whatever.
Yeah, and those are dangerous. They always have those little spikes at the top that shred your pants.
Yeah, well, it was just like a wooden kind of, like, flat-paneled fence.
It wasn't
so if you could get up... So, yeah, so if you could get over... Yeah, I mean, like, this is, like, an old rink.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't, like, top of the line or anything.
Still, it's a danger.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but what had happened is because like the snow had been building up for quite a long time at that point, only like one side of the rink had been like shoveled around so people could like stand at the edge of the rink and whatever, and the other side had this snow piled up like 3 or 4 feet, like these really packed in snow drifts. So what you could do is you could climb up the snow drift and then you were pretty much almost at the top of the fence, and then you
Oh.
could just hop over really easily.
Oh, it's a snow ladder.
Yeah, which I, of course, didn't. Simon's like, come on, we'll just climb up the snowdrift and then we'll go over. And I'm like, okay, like they're already going to do it. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave them here, so I guess we're going skating still. So what we did is we decided that, so we climbed up the snowdrift and then we hop over and we change into our skates on the rink. And this is really important for later in the story.
Okay.
So we leave our boots actually on the rink, and that's where we change.
Right.
So we're skating around, and it's like kind of fun because, you know, we have the entire rink to ourselves, and it feels a little bit like, ooh, we're like not supposed to be here, but you know,
I'm a badass.
like, obviously,
Hello.
you know, I'm like 16 and feel like I'm like breaking the law.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very exciting, and we get to like practice our skating and things like that. So that was fun. That's like a really good memory with Simon, the two of us hanging out like that. But then what happens, so we're skating around and we're doing stuff, and I look over and I see somebody walking towards the rink. And immediately I get super nervous. Like, I was all into it until I saw somebody coming, and I was like, oh no, who is that? And someone's like, oh, it's probably just like somebody like walking by or whatever. Like, it's fine. Like, Simon doesn't care. And I'm like, but like, what if it's like a security person or something? Like, we're going to get in trouble if they find us in here. Like, there's no walls or anything. Like, you can see that we're in here from like halfway down the block, and they're definitely that close. And so I'm really nervous. And Simon's like, no, it's fine. But finally I managed to, like, we kind of like try to get a closer look to see who it is, and they go actually up to the community center, and they're like checking like the door and things like that, and I'm like, oh no, this is a security person.
Oh,
they're checking
no.
all the gates and things like that.
Yeah.
And this is the point now where Simon's like, okay, like, we got to do something about this because we are gonna get caught otherwise. And we didn't want to, obviously when you're like, you know, 15 and 16, you don't want to be getting in trouble, and we're not doing anything that
nobody
bad,
wants to
but
get grounded or arrested.
Well, yeah, and like
Yeah.
normally, like, I had never done anything like that before, so I was like, oh my gosh, I would be in so much trouble. Anyways, so what happened is we kind of like ducked down behind the fence, like around the rink, and we kind of like shuffle our way over, and we're like peeking out over to see, and they're getting closer. Like, the security guard is gonna check the rink, right? And so we're like, oh my god, we got to get out of this rink. So we managed to get over to where the snowdrift starts. And we clamber out, and we like hoist each other up, and we clamber out. And growing through the snowdrifts are a bunch of pine trees. So there's the rink, and one side of the rink has like a bunch of pine trees and the snowdrift, and then the gate is over here, and kind of like whatever, right? Okay. So under the trees, it's very shadowed and dark. So we managed to climb up, and then we were just like huddled there, like belly down on the snowdrift
with your skates on.
Yeah, so we're just waiting there, right?
Yeah.
And we can kind of see that the security guard's kind of like going around or whatever, and all of a sudden we realize that we have left our boots on the rink still,
right?
About like 20 feet down the rink, right? From the snowdrift. We're at like one end of the rink, and our boots are at the other end of the rink. And then, like, we're not gonna, and it's not like we can just like slip off the snowdrift and run home because we're in skates, right? And it's also like really cold out, and like we're not gonna go home in just our socks. But our boots are there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what are we gonna do? Like, we can't walk on the snowdrift in our skates. We're gonna break our ankles. And Simon's like, no, I'm just going to walk over and then go get our boots. What are you talking about? Gets up and just starts like clambering through the snowdrift in their skates. And I'm like, oh my God, this is...
They're bold.
I'm like catastrophizing. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, someone's going to break an ankle, and then the security guard will catch us, and then we'll get arrested, and it's, you know, it's terrible. So I decide, okay, I'm going to just like go follow them. So I kind of like half crawl, kind of walk down, and we finally get down to where our boots are, but we're not going to just jump out onto the rink, or we're going to get seen.
Right.
But you know, I don't want to anyways, because I'm like, I don't want to get seen. And the other problem is that before we kind of like jumped down, right, because it's a bit high up, but you can't do that in skates.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So Simon convinces me. He's like, okay, you have to lower me down onto the rink, and then I will pass up the boots. And this entire time, at this point, I think the security guard probably left or is like around or whatever. But I'm like just so nervous that the security guard is just like around somewhere and we just can't see them. And at any
Waiting
moment,
in the shadows.
yeah, it's just gonna hop out and get us, right? So I finally managed. I kind of like lowered Simon down onto the rink, and then they pass up our boots, and I yoink Simon back up, and then we're like frantically changing, and because we're in the snowdrift, our feet are very cold and wet at this point. We're changing out, and we finally managed to change out and get our boots back on and kind of like half like roll off of the snowdrift, and the security guard is like right around the curve of the rink. We didn't see, and we just take off. We're just like, oh, see ya. At this point, we don't even care if we're gonna get seen. We just start running because we are just like, oh my god, we are gonna get caught. And I mean, Simon's having a great time. I think Simon is just like, woo, this is so great and exciting, and
I'm a
like
badass.
Dying. Yeah, and I'm like dying because I'm just like, this is so
I'm
scary.
a badass. There's two sides of that coin.
Yeah, Simon definitely was like the badass one of us two. I was definitely not. And yeah, so we didn't get caught. Definitely for a second I thought that I would turn around running down the block and feel like I would see somebody in hot pursuit of us and was going to get tackled running in the middle of the night. Well, it wasn't the middle of the night. It was probably like 9 or 9:30 at that point, but it felt like the middle of the night because it's like pitch black. But yeah, so it wasn't only the first time that I trespassed, but also the first time I successfully trespassed, because as far as I know, we didn't get caught. Although that security guard probably definitely did see us, and that's why he came over to check the rink.
Well, it's funny because like that story also probably wouldn't happen now in the same way, because so many school grounds are monitored, right? You'd be way more paranoid about cameras in the world than you ever were back then.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of also like, normally you have kids breaking into like rinks and things like that, and they're not doing it to skate. They're doing it because it's like a place to go like
make out or smoke drugs
do all
or
those kinds of things.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows what's going on in Edmonton nowadays? I don't know, but
yeah.
But yeah, that was the story. First time that I trespassed and successfully broke into an ice rink.
Yay, I love that story. That's so charming. That's sweet.
Yeah. It's such like a wintertime story too. Like, it's one of those things where I feel like because there's actually lots of people who don't necessarily own skates. Like, even here in Kelowna, like,
oh yeah,
like everyone goes and like rents the skates from like the truck that comes to the ice rink, right?
Yeah, but if you've got 5 months out of the year that you can skate, then it makes a lot more sense to own them.
Yeah, so I do miss owning skates just because you can get ones that like properly fit you and stuff. And then you can also have like not hockey skates, which I hate skating in personally.
Well, it sounds like you need to recreate this scene.
We need to recreate. We need to find an ice rink.
You need to find some ice rink to break into. I'll go with you.
Oh my gosh! Well,
I'll be Simon 2.0.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
We'll up the stakes. I'll bring some cocaine, and we'll bring a sledgehammer.
Shit there. And then it'll feel a lot more like badass when we break in.
Yeah, the threshold is higher, so we need to find new things.
Yeah, I'm not 16 goody two-shoes anymore.
Yeah. So. Well, thanks, Emily. I love that story.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shorter one. But
no, it's great. Easy. Yeah. And thanks for also your patience as I figure out this new technology.
Yeah, no, of course. Glad to be a guinea pig for that.
Okay, let's send a big kiss out to the audience. We'll say goodbye.
Mwah.